Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. The options this week was either Ice Cube's War of the Worlds or Weapons, and I only finished one of them.
Hell no.
Nope, she was valid for that. Hi, welcome to Film Stash. My name is Douglas Campbell. Today, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be covering Zach Cregger's Weapons. I truthfully don't know how long this review is even going to be because there is so much that I want to talk about with this film. I really want to go into details, but like with Cregger's previous film Barbarian, I think the fun of it is really just going in completely blind and just letting the film take you for a ride. So I really won't be going into too many details. If there's one thing to take out of my vagueness here today, Weapons is a great film. Go see Weapons. It is fantastic. The basic premise of the film is that 17 students from one elementary school class at 2:17 a.m. get out of bed and at the same time run into the woods, into the dead of night, to never be seen again. Like, if that premise doesn't make you go like, whoa, this film probably isn't for you. What really, makes this film is that it really plays like a horror mystery novel. There really is no main character. There is no typical 3-act plot progression. It constantly is switching perspectives, and because it's constantly switching perspectives, you are constantly, at the edge of your seat guessing, what is going on? What's gonna happen next? What is that? It's great. You're being fed just one tiny slice into a larger, overall, crazier plot. If this story were told, in sequential order, I really don't know if it would be as interesting as the final product is. All these different perspectives, they do overlap, and whenever you switch perspectives, you see the same events play out. But because the perspective is different, some things are completely different. It really plays with the structure of the story that I think is quite interesting based on all these different characters' POVs. If you compare this film to Cregger's previous film Barbarian, Barbarian does follow a similar type of format, but with fewer characters, and if I'm being honest, a little bit more basic of a story. With this film, it is a lot more ambitious because you are following multiple different characters all throughout. This film, under any other creative, it would just fall apart, but for whatever reason here, it doesn't, and it keeps you in suspense the whole time. After watching this movie, I had the same concerns that I had when I watched Barbarian. When I watched Barbarian for the first time, it was very different to a lot of horror films that I've seen up to that point. And so I was excited. I was like, ooh, that was different. That was fun. I was really leaving the theater with a bunch of adrenaline. I was like, woo, let's go. But how would it hold up upon future viewings? When I went to see Barbarian multiple times over the years, there were still finer details that I liked. In fact, I still enjoyed the film just fine, but it didn't have the same impact as when I first saw it. It still has a lot of fun, it has great commentary. It's kind of like going into an amusement park that you've already been to multiple times. When you go into that haunted house, you know all the twists and turns. You're waving to the guy that's about to scare you. I was concerned that that would eventually happen to Weapons somewhere down the line. I did something that I never really do. Pretty much as soon as I got out of seeing Weapons for the first time, I bought another ticket for a later showing. I went to see it again that very same day, just to kind of see how my feelings were. I even convinced Stephanie to go see it with me. Even knowing where all the twists and turns were, this film was very suspenseful. It was still so much fun. It was very creepy. Even Stephanie, who isn't into horror films, she loved this film. She really liked it. I think this was her favorite horror film of the year.
No. So I actually really hated the movie. I didn't even get to finish my slushie because I was so disgusted by the movie, I couldn't drink it. I made it halfway through. It was a banana slushie, guys. You know how good that is? Banana flavored slushie. I only made it halfway through my slushie because I was so disgusted with the film that I couldn't finish it. I had to throw that thing away. It was $5 for a small slushie. Oh, God. It was gross. The gore was disgusting. It was nasty. It was... I felt bad for everybody in the movie at some point except for the one person who, I'm talking about. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Now if you excuse me, I gotta get back to the stash.
What the hell was that? Besides the suspense, I think the main cast overall, they truly sold just this premise and the paranoia. Julia Garner and Josh Brolin, they were great in this thing. Again, without diving too much into spoilers, because I really want you guys to see this thing if you haven't seen it already. There's a lot that you can interpret from this film. A common thread that I've seen throughout, and I've seen that other people online have seen throughout, pretty much is addictions and how it affects you and the people you love. Even Krager directly states that this film, it was deeply personal to him. It's about the various ways of coping through life after tragedy. It's a personal movie. This movie's really kind of autobiographical in many ways. You know, someone really close to me died, and I'm kind of feeling all of these emotions that you get when you lose somebody. I was able to write these characters that had the same reactions, you know? About these kids leaving and this community left in the wake of that, you know? It was a really fertile playground for me to write about my anger and sadness and all of these things and let them do everything I wanted to do, but I can't do. In that regard, it just felt healthy. It was therapeutic. But Krager's interpretations and the overall symbolism, it doesn't really take over the story. You could really draw your own conclusions to this thing. Here's a slight trigger warning ahead for this interpretation I've seen, so just a heads up. I've read from multiple different accounts online that some people took away that the whole inciting incident of this film, it was very symbolic of how it affects a community after a tragedy like a school shooting. Now, Krager himself said that wasn't really what he was trying to go for. I could definitely understand how people could interpret that. If you compare it to how the community reacts to it, it does draw some parallels. If there's really one critique that I have with this film that I think is pretty fantastic, all the different chapters, they work. There's one vignette that, even though it is really funny, you could have cut the majority of this thing because it doesn't really add to the overall story, except for maybe the last 3 minutes of a specific vignette. You know which one I'm talking about. If you disagree with me, comment below, let me know. If you kind of tacked on the ending of this one mostly unnecessary vignette, I think the film would have been just a tad tighter. Just a tad. Just a little bit. But, you know, it is what it is. I think as a creative within the horror genre, Krager is getting better and better both as a writer and a director, and I really can't wait to see what he does next. I would give this film an 8.5 to a 9, depending on how things go my next viewing out of 10. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, comment below, and hopefully subscribe to this channel. Any help that you could give to me, I would greatly appreciate it, and if you're already subscribed, thank you so much. Well, that's all the time we have for today here on Film Stash. My name is Douglas Campbell, and if you excuse me...